So if you come across this, I imagine you're some kind of business owner. You've heard about OpenClaw. You're checking it out yourself. Whether this pop up in your recommended or your search feed, I don't know. But ultimately, what I'm here to do is kind of pass along some of my learnings from basically the past 4 weeks as I've played around with OpenClaw as a six-figure business owner, just to kind of show you some of the numbers. This is an all-time graph. We've actually crossed the $1 million mark. As you can see, there's a steep decline in revenue. That's because we switched from Stripe over to WAP, which is a more popular platform for a bunch of different reasons that I won't dive into for now. And this is our last 12 months. Again, you'll see that tip because we just transitioned to WAP over this past month. So most of our payments have been processed through there. So you've seen this little claw thing, whether, again, you're a business owner, you're like, man, I'm going to set it up. I want to figure out good use cases. I'm just going to walk you through today, like my experience working with it, some of the things to be aware of, some of the things that I think are helpful, and who shouldn't do it. Because I don't think it's necessarily for everyone. I don't think it's this amazing thing. I think it's extremely useful. But again, I just want to give you my experience, some of the use cases I've been using it for. So that way, hey, if you're like, oh, we can apply this, start applying this. Or if you're like, oh, that sounds like it's not for me, then that way you know not to waste your time because it can be a major time suck. Quick background on me. Like I said, I'm a six-figure business owner. I run a unique business where we help families get college football scholarships. I'm also a computer science major. So that's part of the reason why I'm making this is because I've looked at this from just a computer science background, having some programming experience, having some knowledge of how these machines actually work and the logic that runs behind them. And it's allowed me to be extremely efficient because a lot of this stuff I've wanted to do for so long, but I couldn't because the code can take a long time. And obviously you have some good tools like Claude Code and Codex now that you can just tell OpenClaw to use, and it allows you to build just these custom apps that do amazing things, and it builds them in like 10 minutes, and then you just improve it and iterate it over time. It's amazing. I'll show you some of the things that we've done. So with that being said, let's dive into a couple things here. So if I can figure out how to structure this. So my OpenClaw experience. So far, I would say it is not for everyone. Okay. What I mean by that is, again, it can be a major time suck. So like if you're someone that is like still figuring out, it is maybe not super tech friendly, I would not recommend this to you. Again, like you need to have clear use cases where you're like, hey, this is the easy part. And again, I'll walk through that in a bit of like, hey, this is something I can automate. This is something I can fix. This is something I can completely remove from my workflow. Go for it. But again, like I see too many people. I'm in a big mentorship group, very popular one if you're in the info space that a lot of you guys would know. And my mentor was like, you should not be doing this by yourself unless like you have a reason to do so. And there's a lot of guys in there that are like, can't figure out certain things or getting broken on certain things. And it's like, hey, go focus on the revenue generating stuff. To me, I enjoy this. I have the time to kind of be free and spend a good amount of time on this. But to be fair, like, is there stuff that would be higher revenue generating activities? Probably. But you know, I'm doing videos like this and trying to get the most out of it ultimately. And again, for me, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it just because of my background too. But again, I don't think it's for everyone. I think if you're someone again who struggles with some of that tech stuff, I would advise you like either have someone set it up for you, hire someone within your business to do it for you, hire a freelance company, find something. I mean, there's a couple out there already. Don't know if I would necessarily trust them, but I imagine you can find some kind of AI expert or somebody that just understands things a little bit better than you. Hire them within your business to set things up and just see what you can get going. It can do everything though if you train it right. Like there is no doubt this thing is extremely powerful because you have to understand about OpenClaw. I'm sure you've done some research, but like it can literally, if it's going to use APIs, it can use MCP servers, it can use webhooks, and then on top of that, like if for some reason something that you're using does not have access to one of those, it can literally go and use the UI on your computer using Playwright and navigate. Like for example, our email software is Kit. It used to be ConvertKit, now it's Kit. And I was using the API, and like there's certain stuff with the API that I wasn't allowed to do. And so I was literally teaching it how to go in and do the specific thing that I was doing. And it built skills around that to go then repurpose that later. To be fair, it did take me a fair bit of time to teach it how to do that properly. So again, that's where it can be a major time suck. And again, like probably should just have someone else do that and spend the time and babysit it. Because ultimately you have to realize that when you first get this thing, it is a baby. It's got some, good skills just from originally what it's trained to do. And so it can do some things, but it has to learn how you work, has to learn how your stuff works, how your business works, and you have to teach it all of that. It's a lot of information to get it. On top of it, you're going to have issues with memory, as some of you guys may be experiencing. All those kinds of things just take up a ton of time. And so you want to make sure that, again, like you're not getting stuck too much into that. Obviously, I've been able to sort through those things, but it takes a fair bit of time. So again, it can do a lot of things. It's very powerful, but you have to actually teach it how to do it. And again, it can be an absolute time suck. So I think it's just like, ultimately, like if you have the resources to do it, I would go hire someone out, go train someone to do it, have someone spend the time learning it. That way you could just have the finished product and be more of the idea person of like, hey, we need this, that, and refining it is going to be way, way more useful, especially if you're at that revenue level. Personally, that's what I wish I would have done. At this point, I'm in too deep and I like it too much. And I've gotten to a point where it's not really taking up too much of my time. On top of that, that's pretty much all I've got on that side. Just some notes on there. So with that being said, let's walk into like some of the things that I'm using it for. So the client portal is one of my favorite things that I did. It was one of the big things is like, so we sent emails to college coaches on behalf of the athletes that we work with. With the way that we do it, we had to forward the emails that got responded to back to the athlete. But obviously that causes some issues with that. Like sometimes the forward emails wouldn't get to them, or the athlete would respond back, but it's from their personal email. So then that just kind of looks weird. So what we did is we built a reply functionality within the portal. So it actually rebuilt the entire portal, which is amazing. Made it way better. Was also able to add some like really cool tabs for future, all this kind of stuff. Even was doing some debugging, just awesome stuff. And then, so what you can do is you can actually go in here, you go to replies, see if it properly pulls it up. Because to be fair, there still is some bugs. It's definitely not perfect. Looks like I loaded there for a second, but just want to refresh it. Cool. So yeah, so we got this one, and you actually see in here that this is something that he could reply to, and you can write the reply. It'll send. I do it because I don't want to do it for this recruit. That's a perfect example of something that would probably take me a good week to figure out to bug it out. It did it in the span of a couple hours, if that. Another really cool thing is it built a bookkeeping app. One of the things to me is just a pain of like, you have to pay someone to do bookkeeping. Like, I can automate that 100%. And so I was like, I don't want to pay for something. I just want to build something custom so that way it can be what I need, like be a CFO ultimately. And so it's done a pretty good job. I still need to connect the bank accounts, but you can literally get development access using Plaid, which I think is really cool. And so you don't even need to pay for anything. You just get free access to Plaid, safely connect your bank accounts. Because one of the things I didn't bring up is obviously the security reasons. That's another reason why it's not for everyone. You're probably aware of that as well. So I didn't want OpenClaw connected to my bank accounts in the group I'm in. So just today accidentally had like somebody got their credit card info because they gave it to OpenClaw. Somebody spent like $1,700. Luckily, the person had a limit on it. But so I'm not going to give bank account info to OpenClaw, but it can get it through Plaid essentially. And so it safely gives the bank account information. I just need to connect everything up in here, but it is a ton of stuff in terms of like, I can sort through, obviously. I could build this out to however I want. You can do financial analysis. It just has some like random data in here right now that it pulled. And then it has even this like CFO playbook, kind of walks you through all these cool numbers I think are pretty sweet. So that's a really cool use case. It's those are probably two of my favorites. Another thing it's great at, data. Data is like, this thing rips with data. We use Airtable for a ton of backend data. We've got, I don't even know how many records, probably at least in the hundreds of thousands, just from all of the outreach that we're doing for our clients. This is just fulfillment data. This isn't even like marketing or sales data. So it's able to aggregate all that, clean it all up, for example, it suggested better pathways in architecture for our data. So we actually are moving a lot of our data from Airtable to Supabase, which we were already using originally, but we weren't using Supabase as the hub. And so essentially what we're doing is, before Airtable was our source of truth, and now Supabase is becoming our source of truth. And then it's going back to Airtable. Because the nice thing about Airtable is that it has a really clean interface with a data backend. And so it's basically like Google Sheets. It's like a nice, easy version of Google Sheets. And so instead, it's like, cool, why don't we use Supabase? It's way safer. It's way better for just data in general. And then we can push that data to Airtable. And then Airtable, it's just a good, clean interface for us to use for everything else. Domain automation. So we send out a lot of cold emails. We have to do like domains, automated that entire process. We use like a service to get the domains cheaper, not necessarily the domains, the email accounts cheaper. And so I actually automated being able to send that message. And so basically, for example, like the domain automation and one other automation that we do within Discord literally removed a virtual assistant from my team, saved me, $1,000 plus per month, which to be fair isn't necessarily the most significant thing, but this is way more reliable. I can customize it whenever I want with a couple sentences. Pretty sweet, I would say. Content is another one. Been using it a good amount for content. You just got to train it obviously on the proper data, but it does a pretty good job in researching, which I think is a very good use case as well. So plans for the future right now, basically three things. I want to use it more for coding. I think there's a ton of cool apps that we could build within internally on our team, externally for clients. I think one of the greatest things you can do is like if you are using it as a lead magnet, like just creating apps as lead magnets. That's going to be like some amazing stuff right there. Is you could create a simple web-based app and distribute it as a lead magnet. That's way better than a PDF, like a great tool for people to use. I think for us, like we can use it for, hey, here's a web app that creates an email template based on what you use. Obviously, you could probably set that up before, but like you could literally set that up within 10 minutes. It's super fast. Teaching a better marketing content strategies, like I talked about, I'm using it for content. The content it's producing right now isn't great. I don't love it. So I want to teach it better. I want to get it just more iterated. I think I was listening to an interview with Peter Steinberg, the founder of OpenClaw, and he was talking about coding it's so good at because it's just got this constant feedback loop. It compiles the code, it looks at it, goes, oh, this is wrong, and then fixes it immediately. With marketing, with content, with creative, it's not as good because obviously you have that human in the loop where the humans then decide, hey, is this creative good or not? Then the algorithm decides is it good or not. And it's just a delayed loop. And oftentimes the AI doesn't get that data back. And so I just need to reinforce that feedback loop. Obviously, we've been able to do, tens of millions of impressions across all of our platforms and have over 70,000 followers. So we have a pretty good idea on what works. So I'm going to teach it what specifically to do and how to improve. But getting that feedback loop is going to be very key. And then having it follow me throughout the day. I think this is kind of like an idea, a test, but I know some other people that do this, but you can have it screenshot your screen throughout the entire day. And that way it sees what you're doing. And so I wanted to see what I'm doing and then be like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. Here, let me do this. I'm going to learn how to do that right now. Or I already saw you do it, so I can do that. Let me build out a process for that to take over so you never have to do it again. And then meetings as well, obviously, to-do lists. That's a pretty simple one. That's been around forever with note-taking apps, obviously. But bigger thing is just, I think one of my biggest struggles is like we have a ton of good like sawdust type content where like we have client wins or we have clients ask us questions. That would be great content. And I just don't note it down all the time. And I don't want to go back through all the notes and note it down either. So just having the AI, my OpenClaw, his name's Robert, by the way. Got to give your OpenClaw a good name, and just having him go through and say, "Cool, here's some great content ideas that came from that," and then produces the content for me. And then also just any other, you can do analysis, obviously, of meetings, sales calls, client calls, all that kind of stuff too. But that's the main three things. Really just bettering it. I think it's at a good foundational stage for me right now. It's just like, cool, how can we ultimately improve it? How can I make it extremely useful? Because I think right now it's great. Like it's pretty good. Like it's definitely helped me out a ton in terms of just accomplishing more. Like my days now, I get so much done. Like it's insane in terms of how much you can accomplish with using this. But now it's just improving that output. So that way there's less revisions and more just, hey, go do this, execute this, cool. And then I just, do whatever manual parts I need to do. So improving that flows a lot. So that's kind of my take so far. If you have any questions, you can comment them down below. Would love to kind of see what your guys' thoughts are. Any questions that you have, anything I can walk through, that would be extremely helpful. If you're liking this content, I'm planning on trying to post 3 times per week, just kind of giving updates, doing a kind of journal style, and keeping you guys in the loop. So appreciate you being here.